Good morning, guys. I am happy to be back with you this morning to talk about cellular respiration. Just a reminder, if you have not set up your journal yet, you need a journal because we are going to be taking a lot of notes and you want to be able to access those when you're doing your assignments. So if you have a notebook, a binder, a spiral notebook, whatever it is, wherever you have that one location where you're going to keep your science work, please keep that handy so that you can write your notes. Again, my kind of rule or best practice is that if it's underlined in the PowerPoint, it needs to be written in your journal because it's important information, okay? So today we're going to be talking about cellular respiration. Yesterday we talked about photosynthesis, and photosynthesis, remember, is how plants take energy from the sun and they turn it into glucose. Great, glucose, that's awesome. Now, what do their cells do with that glucose when they get it, right? So that's where cellular respiration comes in. Cellular respiration is how plant and animal cells convert energy, and glucose is that stored energy. So cellular respiration is going to be how plants change that glucose into a form of energy that's usable on a cellular level, okay? Now, cellular respiration, for our definition, is the process by which the energy of glucose gets released into the cell to be used for life processes like moving, breathing, circulating blood, right? And until it's released on a cellular level, we can't do anything on an organism level, right? So your body takes the food that we eat, right, in all different forms, right? We like hamburgers and French fries, and my favorite food is chips and dip. So all of those things that we eat, our body takes them, breaks them apart into their chemical components, and changes them into an energy that's usable on a cellular level, right? And so this process is done by all plants and all animals, done by most fungi, right? This cellular respiration is vital for a lot of organisms to survive. Respiration occurs in the mitochondria, right? We talked about the different organelles last week. We talked about the nucleus and vacuoles and endoplasmic reticulum and all those cool things. And respiration is what happens in the mitochondria. And if you remember from last week, we call the mitochondria the powerhouse of the cell. And that's because it provides the energy for the cell. It takes that glucose, takes it all apart through a chemical reaction, puts it into a form that's usable for the cell. So both plant and animal cells go through this because plant cells and animal cells both have mitochondria, right? Plant cells also go through photosynthesis, but plant and animal cells both go through cellular respiration. All right, so this is not respiration like breathing, right? This is respiration as in transforming, breaking down things into the components that they're made of. And through this process of breaking down glucose, a different type of molecule which can be used for energy, adenosine triphosphate, we're just going to call it ATP, is made. And that ATP is fuel for the cell, fuel that the cell can use for energy, okay? It's the only usable type of energy for cells. So unless cells are going through that process of cellular respiration, transforming that glucose that we're eating, transforming that glucose that plants create through getting energy from the sun, they can't live, right? Because they don't have any energy. We have to eat to live, to fuel our bodies on a cellular level. Isn't that crazy? So it happens in the mitochondria, and it is a chemical reaction. Remember, mitochondria, the powerhouse of the cell, they're going to be producing all of this power, all of this energy on a cellular level that your cells can use to fuel division, you growing taller, you learning something new, connecting new neurons in your brain, right? All of this happens on that cellular level because mitochondria are changing that glucose into an energy form that the cells can use, okay? It's a chemical reaction, which means it has a chemical equation, right? So what's the chemical equation for cellular respiration? Well, you might think it looks a little familiar because it has some things in common from what we looked at yesterday. The first thing we're going to see is this one. Do you guys remember this crazy C6H12O6? This is our glucose molecule, right? Our sugar molecule. And so we're going to take that sugar, our mitochondria is going to take that sugar molecule, that glucose molecule, and it's going to Boom, combine it with some oxygen. Because guess what? Two things we have to do to survive. We have to eat our glucose, and we have to breathe. And what do we breathe? What does our body need? Oxygen. And this is why we need to eat and breathe, because on a cellular level, our body needs those two things in order to operate. So we're going to take that glucose and that oxygen, and it's going to combine chemically, right? So we're making something new. We're making something different. A chemical change is happening. And it's going to change into 6 carbon dioxide molecules, right? Remember, we saw that yesterday. And 6 water molecules and energy in the form of ATP, right? So it's taking what we eat and what we breathe in. We're breathing out our carbon dioxide because we don't need that, right? That's a waste product for us. And we also have to go urinate, right? We have to go tinkle. And what is that water? Water, okay? Urine contains a high quantity of water. So these are our waste products, right? The right side of the equation are our waste products. The left side are the reactants, the things that go together to create what's done. What's the main goal of this process? To produce ATP energy. It's not to produce carbon dioxide. It's not to produce water. It's to produce energy. Those other things we view as waste products in our body. Our body just gets rid of them. We don't need them anymore, right? So let's look at this little demonstration. So we have both the cellular respiration formula and the formula for photosynthesis, right? So we've got cellular respiration on top, we've got photosynthesis on the bottom. And so if you look, our reactants for cellular respiration are our products for photosynthesis. And our products for cellular respiration are our reactants for photosynthesis. They are connected. They're a cycle. They work together, right? Plants are going through photosynthesis, producing what we need, right? We need to eat the glucose that they produce. We need to breathe the oxygen that they produce. What are we doing? We're producing, as a byproduct, a waste product for us, carbon dioxide that plants need to go through photosynthesis, and water that plants need to go through photosynthesis. So it's all connected, right? What we need, plants give us. What plants need, we give, right? So it's a cycle, right? We're interdependent. We're depending on each other to go through the processes that we have to go through. This is a cycle, right? In science is all about different cycles, right? You've learned in the past about the water cycle, the life cycle of a frog, right? The metamorphosis cycle of a butterfly. All of those are cycles, and this is no different. Cycles are in science, right? Because so many things in science are interdependent. And so when we have sunlight feeding our autotrophs, right? Our organisms that can turn sunlight into food, they create glucose. And so heterotrophs, things like us, snakes, mushrooms, we produce the things that they need, right? So it's all interdependent. It's all a cycle that's connected and depends on each other. I want you guys to sketch this diagram in your journals. It's very important because you're going to see something very similar to this tomorrow, and you're going to need to use your notes to help you figure it out, okay? So this light energy that's being fed into those chloroplasts, and photosynthesis is the process that's going to happen in the chloroplasts, right? Photosynthesis produces what? Organic molecules, which is our glucose, okay? If you need to put glucose in your notes there, you can put glucose, so you remember, and oxygen, right? So photosynthesis produces glucose and oxygen. That glucose and oxygen gets fed into the mitochondria, right, to produce ATP, right, energy for the cell. A lot of that energy is lost as heat and work, right, things being done in the cellular level, right? We don't think of ourselves as putting off any heat, but you have a body temperature, don't you, right? If you feel it yourself, you have a warmth to your body, and that's the cells putting off this heat energy that's produced as a byproduct of cellular respiration. Cellular respiration in the mitochondria is going to produce that carbon dioxide and that water, right? And that carbon dioxide and that water is exactly what plants need to go through photosynthesis, right? So these are all interdependent, all interconnected, right? We need photosynthesis, plants need photosynthesis, and they also go through cellular respiration, right? So let's look at this for a second, right? And let's think about it for a second. Animals and plants both require cellular respiration. We both go through cellular respiration. So plants go through photosynthesis and cellular respiration. Animals can go through cellular respiration as long as we can breathe and we can eat, because those are the two things we have to do. Remember, we need glucose and we need oxygen to be able to go through cellular respiration. So we don't really have a certain period of time when we can or can't go through our processes for ourselves. Plants do, right? Plants require sunlight, right? And so if they don't have sunlight, they can't go through photosynthesis, and then they're going to run out of fuel for their cellular respiration. So even the cycle of day and night gives them time to go through cellular respiration while they're not having to go through photosynthesis. So do you see how all these cycles depend on each other, right? Remember, plants can only go through photosynthesis in the presence of light, but they can go through cellular respiration until they run out of glucose, which, remember, they're storing, okay, and oxygen, which they're producing as a byproduct of photosynthesis. So do plants exhale all of the oxygen that's produced? Some of that they're going to use to go through cellular respiration because they need oxygen too, just like we do. Isn't that crazy? So I hope that you guys enjoyed our little mini lesson on cellular respiration and you took some good notes. If you need to go back and watch anything, you can feel free. You will need these notes tomorrow to complete your assignment. So it is important that you take these down and write them somewhere where you can find them again tomorrow so that you can complete your assignment. I hope you guys have a fantastic day, and I will see you next time.